What's going on, Jets fans? It's good to see you. It's good to be seen, right? You know how it is. Here we are. Here we are again. This is a big one, guys. I need to make sure that I welcome you properly, to episode 100 of GreenBean's Jets Pod. I could not be happier to have reached this amazing milestone. 100 episodes, guys. Most of you have been here with me for some length of time, and I want to say thank you. I want to take this moment and sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart that I even get to do this, man. What a cool thing. Again, I like to tell you guys, I talked about podcasting for years. I was going to do this. I was going to do that. One day, I'm going to do that. Even now, every now and then, I'd write down some ideas, right? I'd go, you know what? I'm going to do it like this, like that. And then I just wouldn't do it. I tell guys all the time, I say, hey, you have any advice for me? I'm thinking about doing a Jets podcast. My number one piece of advice is just do it. Start it. One day, I was in Fort Lauderdale. As you guys know, I was traveling around the country with my family in our RV. We were parked in Fort Lauderdale on Oakland Park Boulevard, and I had had enough of my baloney. I was already doing live streams with Ryan and Matt on the Talking Jets panel. I was already doing videos for Jetnation, and I just said one day, that's it. I've had it. I grabbed a microphone. I grabbed a camera. I went outside of that very RV in Fort Lauderdale. My hoses were everywhere, and I just recorded it. Episode 1, I just recorded it, man. I said, that's it. I've had it. And it was great. Nobody watched it. Maybe 30 of you, maybe 100, something like that. But it got it started. And here I am, episode 100. We have thousands of listeners every single week on both YouTube. I want to say hi to you on YouTube. Hello. It's good to see you. And don't forget, all you guys in the car or in your kitchen, wherever you might be, brushing your teeth, listening to this in audio form, I thank you too, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, wherever it might be. We have thousands of you that listen in audio form as well. And to you, I want to say thank you. Guys, if you have a brief moment, if you want to show that appreciation even a little bit more, I appreciate you. If you appreciate me, YouTube likes it if you hit that thumbs up. Apple Podcasts and Spotify, they like it if you give a little review, if you give a 5-star rating or something. That's greatly appreciated as well. And the best thing that you can do is to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It means the world. We're right on the precipice of that 10,000 plateau that I'd like to reach. Episode 100, 10,000 subscribers. Boy, oh boy, it almost gives me the impression that I might be doing something good out here. Something that a few of you actually like, man. And I'm telling you, it's a blast to do it. I love talking with you guys. I love hanging with you guys. It's just a shame that the Jets end up being the Jets every year. Wouldn't it be nice, though, if they didn't suck? You know what I mean? If they didn't find a way to ruin it every single year, wouldn't that be nifty? Yeah, see, that's the only thing missing. The only thing missing out of this whole thing, guys, we have each other. We have all these fun mediums that we hang out on. We do live streams and we talk about everything. The only thing missing is this team being good. That's it. That's all we need. If the team could just be good, then we might have something here. But guys, here's the thing. We're going to get into episode 100, and a few of the items that we'll talk about, one of them happens to be whether or not this team is good. Maybe, just maybe, the feelings of despair are misplaced. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe, just maybe, there's a whole mess of good stuff going on right now. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe we're going to look at this entire list of New York Jets players that are free agents this year, and maybe if we lost a whole bunch of them, we don't even have the same team. So we're going to look at this stuff. Is this team worth believing in? Is there a way that we could refine what we already have and become somewhat of a juggernaut for years to come? Is it possible? We'll get into all that stuff. We're also going to take a look at the player profile. Wait, who wears 100? Nobody. I don't have one single player that wears the number 100. I looked through Jets history. Did anybody ever wear the number 100? It looked pretty weird anyway. Imagine that, a player 100. I think we should do it, but there is nobody. So this will be a podcast, a GreenBean's Jets pod, without a player profile. Last week we got to do the all-powerful, mighty Mark Gastineau. Mark Gastineau is way at the top of the heap for me. He's the guy who got me into the Jets. So last week we were able to dissect the career of Mark Gastineau a little bit and his impact on the New York Jets franchise, and little old GreenBean as a 10-year-old boy looking around. What should I do with all this desire? I want to root for something. Oh, well, look at this guy. Little did I know it's his fault, and here I am. I'm miserable for 40 straight years almost. Thanks, Mark Gastineau. But this week we don't have a player profile, but we have lots to discuss. We fired our offensive coordinator. We'll talk about that in the news of the week. Before we get going, though, I want to just remind you of something very, very cool going on out there. Manscaped. The best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Guys, I don't even have to tell you at this point. I see Manscaped all over the place. But this right here, this Thursday night, if the winner doesn't claim it again, this will be the second straight week that we do not have a claimed prize. We're giving away this very weed whacker. We gave away a lawnmower 4.0. Last week to David Gerard. Congratulations, David. And we're trying to give this guy away, the absolute best nose and ear hair trimmer that I've ever used. I have it. I use it pretty much daily, guys, and I love it to death. Men's below-the-waist grooming is very, very important. And the Lawnmower 4.0 Game Changer has a flashlight on the buzzer. Guys, I can't speak more highly about it than I do. I love Manscaped's products. And if you'd like to save an additional 20% to whatever's going on their website, go ahead and use the promo code GreenBean when you get to the checkout page. They will tack on a 20% discount for you no matter what you buy, an additional 20%. And as always, that comes with free international shipping. So if you right now are watching this from the UK or Brazil or Malaysia, we have listeners and viewers from all of those countries, Ireland, Germany. If you like to get in on the action, you will get free international shipping as well. Guys, click on the link in the description for the website, manscaped.com. Use my promo code GreenBean at checkout, save 20%, and get yourself some of the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. They're the proper tools for your family jewels. That's right, Manscaped, everybody. So guys, from the Manscaped thing, I want to tell you a few more little tiny nuggets. We're very, very excited as we go into the off season. This is kind of our comfort zone. It really is. Yes, we root for the games. Yes, we want a good team. But we've had a good team so infrequently over the years that we've started to truly embrace the offseason. The Jets are in the mix for champions of the offseason every single year. We have a blast. Well, we're going to have an even bigger blast with my Patreon group, the Beanbaggers. We love the offseason. We do plenty of positional breakdowns, personal get-togethers where we dissect players, positions, who we like, who we don't like, with our resident expert, Dom C, and myself, in addition to all the Beanbaggers. We get into this. If you'd like to join the fun with us, all you have to do is click the link in the description of this very video, pick your tier, and come on in. The water's fine, as they say. We have a blast. Obviously, with each tier comes different benefits, but guys, every tier gets you access to the Discord, to the classic game rewatch parties that we do. It amplifies your experience as a Jets fan. And we've also added a new membership specifically tailored to impact the live streams, and that is the Stream Beaners. It's only one tier, but once you get in, you get all kinds of fun emojis, free super chats, and there will be one or two private mocks that we have this year. So you can do that as well. You can be a beanbagger or you can be a stream beaner. Either way, it helps the channel, and I am grateful for all of your help, guys. Let's jump right from there directly into this episode's news of the week. So, has anything happened for the New York Jets recently? Let me think. Well, number one, the season ended. We have to go into these playoff weeks once again without being able to root for our beloved team, even if it's one extra week, you know? It's all we're asking for. We want to get in the dance. We were 6-3, 7-4. And we ended up 7-10. One of the more epic collapses in New York Jets history. So once again, guys, the season ends without the New York Jets getting into the playoffs. Sad, frustrating, disappointing, upsetting, right? It makes you angry in some respects. But the Jets, in typical fashion, did not just limp into the offseason quietly. We made a splash right after the season ended, gave it 48 hours or so, 72 hours, and the New York Jets decided to fire offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur. Now, we went round and round with this pretty much the whole second half of the season. Lots of Jets fans had him on their hit list for weeks, right? Now, somebody like myself, I try to make the case for both sides, right? I try to see things as objectively as I can. My emotions, I just want people's heads to roll. That's the way it is. You suck. You're not doing it. You're not getting me to the place I want to be. Goodbye. That's where I start. But as I move forward into any argument, I try really hard to look at things through both sides to try to see where is this really. It's usually somewhere closer to the middle than it is on either extreme opinions side. So where Mike LaFleur is concerned, I was able to see a lot of what was going on that people that don't watch the coaches film, the All 22 as we call it, they don't get to see a lot of what's really happening in the play when the play doesn't work, when it breaks down. Now, one of the places I landed this year was that with adequate quarterback play, not even great quarterback play, man, we're not even asking for that. With average quarterback play, top 15-esque, top 18-esque, I was a firm believer that this offense could work. There were guys open all the time. Yes, we had numerous injuries to the offensive line, but even with that, the offense seemed to have enough time from the offensive line. If the quarterback could just play average ball, we might see a significantly different product on the field. Our defense was really playing well, man. Let's be honest here. They were playing really, really well. Top 5 in the NFL by most people's estimations. So the defense wasn't getting much help from the offense, and a lot of that whittled down to the quarterback. But when it boiled down, guys, Mike LaFleur was the guy who took the brunt of it, and he's the one whose head got chopped off and will no longer be a part of the New York Jets. Some Jets fans rejoiced, said, good, finally we made a positive move for the offense. Some other Jets fans didn't like it so much. Then there are people in the middle like myself where I probably wouldn't have fired him, but I can see it. So where that leaves the Jets right now is we really don't have a quarterback. We really don't have an offensive coordinator. And then the day after we fired Mike LaFleur, we decided to let longtime offensive line coach John Benton hit the bricks as well. So now we don't have an offensive line coach. We don't have an offensive coordinator. We really don't have a quarterback. Oh, and don't forget, our wide receivers coach Miles Austin is in some trouble with the NFL for gambling, so he's out of the mix as well. Now, trick is here, guys. It sounds like it might be worse than just losing your offensive coordinator. What this actually does, and I think the Jets might be thinking this way, is that trying to get an offensive coordinator worth their salt in here, but they have to use this staff, this offensive line coach, this wide receivers coach, this running backs coach. If you're going to staple all those guys to the team and an offensive coordinator has to use all those guys, that might actually be a detriment to somebody that we can hire, somebody that's any good, right? So now they know if they come in here, they have their freedom to hire their own offensive line coach, their own wide receivers coach. Now we're going to have to see where this quarterback thing goes. How stuck on Zach are they really? I don't know. They're talking all that stuff. We believe in them. We're going to develop them. That's all great. But Woody came out this week and he said, hey, man, I'm a multi-billionaire. I got a checkbook. I'm willing to do whatever I need to do to get the right quarterback in here. He called it the missing piece. The missing piece. So clearly, Mike LaFleur, Rob Calabrese, they did not do a very good job developing Zach Wilson. Doesn't mean they don't have redeeming qualities to the offense, but the Jets decided, hey, we're going to start clean. We're going to get a new quarterback. We're going to get a new offensive coordinator, and he's going to be able to bring in his own offensive line coach, his own wide receivers coach. And guys, he might want to get rid of Calabrese and get rid of whoever else is on the offensive staff, quite frankly. He might want to start fresh, and the truth is that they should probably give him the freedom to do so. So there's a few names out there, guys. Do we want to go with another young hotshot? I'm seeing names like Joe Brady. Oh, Joe Brady's flying around. We also have other guys like Nick Caley from the New England Patriots, the tight end coach. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of Jets fans that are behind some of these guys. I don't know how we could be. We just hired a guy who's never really done this before. He's never called plays. He's been a well thought of offensive mind behind Kyle Shanahan for X amount of years, but this was his first time in charge. He didn't do all that great of a job. Firing him to bring in another guy who's never done it and let him stumble and bumble into his comfort zone, I don't know if that's the best way to look at this. Now, when you look at a guy like Joe Brady, it's not that this would be his first time ever calling plays. He did it for Carolina for a year and a half. The problem is he didn't really do a good job with it. And before that, he doesn't have the most extensive resume. He was the passing game coordinator for LSU when Joe Burrow blew the world up, right? That's good. It's on his resume. But he wasn't the offensive coordinator. I need to remind people of that. They just assume that he was the guy calling the plays, and it's not true. Now, he did work with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow said that he was very helpful. Great. So he's got that on his resume, but does that translate to being an offensive coordinator? Now, he went over and he did the offensive coordinator job under Matt Rule. Again, not the greatest job. He had Teddy Bridgewater, he had Sam Darnold, and he kind of took the fall for the failings of Matt Rule. But the truth is, the offense really didn't look all that cohesive. They looked like they depended on McCaffrey a whole lot. Once he wasn't available, it seemed like they were kind of lost. So again, I don't really see the firm foundation for a guy like Joe Brady in our particular scenario. You want to maybe have somebody, if you're going to hitch your cart to one of these guys, somebody that you feel confident doesn't need you to hold their hand and kind of watch them figure it out on the job. Like, that's not what we need here. It shouldn't be what Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas are looking for. Now, the Nick Caley guy, I mean, yeah, he's been on the Patriots for 8 years, but they needed an offensive coordinator this past year, and they chose to bring on their previous defensive coordinator and their previous special teams coach and let those guys run the offense as opposed to giving it to him. I don't even see how that guy's on a list. I really don't. I just don't get it. The Patriots, the team that he works for, didn't give him the position. Why the hell would we go in there and pluck him and give it to our team? I don't see it. It doesn't make sense to me. But there are a few names out there, guys that are the hot quarterback coach of the day, guys with 1 year of experience. It really freaks me out that the Jets would even consider that. Now, we don't know if they are or not. But it freaks me out that we're even talking about these guys. Everybody out there should know The Jets are looking for a vet, somebody who's done this before, somebody that might even have developed a quarterback or two in their past. Somebody who's called plays in the NFL, that's been hired, fired, up, down, all around. Somebody who's coming here to do what they do, man. That's what we need. Now, a couple names I want to throw at you. One in particular is Darrell Bevell. Darrell Bevell's interesting. Now, he's down there with the Miami Dolphins right now. I don't always love doing that. Like, get out of here. Why do we need to pluck from those damn teams are in our division? But he's not really a Dolphin. I mean, he's only been there for one season. He's the offensive assistant, passing game coordinator guy under McDaniel. So the thing is with Bevell, the last 2 seasons prior to this one, he actually filled interim head coaching positions. One for the Jaguars. When the Jaguars fired Urban Meyer for that shit fest that they had going on down there, Darrell Bevell, who was the offensive coordinator, was bumped up into the interim head coach job. The year before that, he was under Matt Patricia. He was Matt Patricia's new offensive coordinator over there. And Matt Patricia got fired, and they chose Darrell Bevell to run the team in Detroit as well. So that's valuable experience, number one. Number two, he's been an offensive coordinator for numerous teams for many years in the NFL. In 2006, he was the offensive coordinator after we let Brett Favre go. There's so many weird connections you're going to see here. We let Brett Favre go. We let him retire. He went over to the Minnesota Vikings. Darrell Bevell was the offensive coordinator that was there when they went to the NFC Championship game. Now, the next year, they didn't do quite as well, but that happened to be Brett Favre's best year as far as QBR and all that jazz went. So Darrell Bevell worked really well with Brett Favre, and they had a very successful season there. He was also the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks for a number of years. Now, really good stuff. I mean, when they brought on Matt Flynn, he was kind of supposed to be the starter, right? He was assumed he was going to be the starter. He had that big 500-yard game, and he made a bunch of money in free agency. But they drafted Russell Wilson in the 3rd round, and Pete Carroll is on record saying Russell Wilson was Darrell Bevell's project. It was his project. They knew that Russell Wilson was the guy they wanted to go with before the first game of that season. Darrell Bevell, largely responsible in many people's eyes for the development of Russell Wilson. Not a bad thing to have on your resume. Now, conversely, there's something else that's on his resume, man. It's not very good. You got to think maybe he learned from it. That would be the only positive I can find. Darrell Bevell is the guy that called the pass play on the goal line in the Super Bowl that was picked off by Malcolm Butler, and the Patriots went on to win the game. That's Darrell Bevell. Darrell Bevell is the guy who called that play. I don't know, man. I don't know if you can get past that one. That's tough. Now, Pete Carroll took it on his chin and said, no. It was part of what we were doing. That way, it made a ton of sense. Like this, we were all in agreement with it. But that's a good head coach. That's what he does. Darrell Bevell was the offensive coordinator. He was the guy calling the plays. He had final say on the plays. Of course, Pete Carroll could override him, but he went in there. Marshawn Lynch got him all the way down to the 1-yard line or whatever it was, and they decided to pass it. Darrell Bevell. Again, good thing. More than likely, he learned from it. So Darrell Bevell's a very interesting candidate for me. A lot of his offenses were like top 5 in rushing. He's done that 4 or 5 times. Top 5 in rushing, 3rd in rushing, 4th in rushing, in rushing, 5th in rushing. So he's not just a guy that's focused on the passing game. His offenses tend to be a little bit more well-balanced, but they rely heavily on the running game. What better for a team that has Breece Hall, Bam Knight, Michael Carter, and maybe even James Robinson, whoever we keep on the bottom end of our running back group? You have a nice stable of running backs. It would be real nice to see us use them as opposed to rushing the ball 10, 12 times in the entire game with 3 running backs so nobody gets more than 3 or 4 carries. Oh my God, it's maddening. So that's going to be a potential positive if you get a guy like Darrell Bevell. Now, another guy I want to just really quickly throw at us is Greg Olsen. Now, Greg Olsen has been an offensive coordinator or quarterback coach since 2001. He's done it in both the college ranks, in the NFL ranks. He's been all over the place. Well, like Darrell Bevell, he took the job, when he took the Seahawks job, he was actually replacing Jeremy Bates. Remember him? That's the guy, Todd Bowles and everything. Well, Greg Olsen replaced former beloved Jets offensive coordinator Paul Can't Hackett down there in Tampa Bay. And then he even replaced Greg Knapp for the Raiders. So there's a lot of like interwoven and meshed aspects of these guys. I mean, look, they're well-traveled guys and they've been in the league for a long time. Greg Olsen is also one who worked extensively with Derek Carr. They've done some nice things together. So that could be a benefit. In the event Derek Carr is the guy that you want to get, it would work on both ends. If you really want Greg Olsen and you tell him we're going to go shoot for Derek Carr, that could be a positive. And obviously, if you get Greg Olsen as your OC, that could be a positive for Derek Carr and kind of greasing the tracks for him to agree to come here if that's your target. Because don't forget, Derek Carr has a no trade clause, everybody. So it's going to be really interesting. Again, there are names bubbling up. I just seriously hope the Jets aren't even considering, man. We do not need some hotshot first-time quarterback coach who's done 1 year of nice things for the Eagles or something, and now we're going to dump the entire New York Jets mess on top of this guy. That's not what we need. We need somebody that comes in, commands respects. Dude, I've been there, done this, sit down, listen to me, and it's going to work. That kind of a guy. I'm looking for a vet. A few really good names. Again, Darrell Bevell and Greg Olsen kind of simmering up there to the top of my list. Let me know what you think in the comments about either one of those guys. Now, guys, some really cool news happened for us this week as well. We don't always get this. Maybe one here, one there. But two of our young Buck players got voted into the Associated Press All-Pro team. First team All-Pro. One Quinnen Williams, one Sauce Gardner, who happens to be the first rookie defensive back to get first team All-Pro since Ronnie Lott in 1981. Former New York Jets great, as we know. So Ronnie Lott did it in 1981. No other defensive back as a rookie has won first team All-Pro until this year, Sauce Gardner. Guys, this is exciting. On top of that, we also got C.J. Mosley as a second-team All-Pro. The bad news, two of those three guys, this is their contract situation. They're going to have this as ammo on their side to boost up their price maybe. That said, hey, look, good players cost money. You got a guy like Quinnen Williams. He's 25 years old. He just turned 25 at the end of December. He's gotten better every single year. He's clearly a vital cog with this team. He had the one game that he didn't play in 2022. The defense looked completely different without him. It's not even up for debate. Quinnen Williams is very, very important. And guys, he's done things the right way. Never a peep. Hard worker. Got better every single year. The only thing that you have to consider is this is a contract year for Quinnen Williams. Could it be just like with Leo? You saw Leo, his contract year, he had his best year of his whole career, and then after that, still a nice player, but never had that type of a season again. You could be concerned that maybe Quinnen would do that as well. I'm going to tell you my thoughts. I don't see it. I do not see it in Quinnen. He looks like one of the most wholesome, good-hearted, like honest, upfront people that you'll ever meet. I think Quinnen Williams should get whatever he's asking for within reason. If he wants 22, 23, give it to him. Give it to him early. Don't make a mess out of this. Sign him, and you got your all-pro defensive tackle locked up for the next 5 years, I would say, and make him a Jet for the large part of his career and maybe even his entire career. I think it's the way to go. Sauce obviously still on his rookie contract, but it's fantastic. Now, the C.J. Mosley thing, we don't know what's going to happen with that. He's due $21 million next year. He's not getting it. I'll tell you that right now. He's got none of it guaranteed, and even if the Jets, if he makes the Jets cut him if he doesn't want to renegotiate and he just says, hey man, cut me or pay me, he's not going to find another another team to give him $21 million. It's way outside of what CJ Mosley is going to garner. That said, Pro Bowl, All-Pro, we see him making 10, 12 tackles a game. He's all over the place. I do think CJ Mosley could use some legitimate help. Maybe even having 3 linebackers out there more consistently. I'd like to see that. But you got to rework it with CJ or you might lose him. So there's lots of warm, fuzzy feelings, guys. But we also have the contract side to look at. But again, as fans, isn't it nice to finally have some good freaking players? We have good players. We have all pros. 3 of them in one little package on one defense. And you'll notice all of them are on defense. The only one who could have even really been considered would be Garrett Wilson and maybe Breece Hall if he continued to stay healthy for the season. Who knows? We got lots of stuff. We're firing people. We got all pros. The New York Jets start the 2023 offseason with a bang. And that is the news of the week. So one of the things that we talk about every offseason is free agency, right? We're going to talk about it ad nauseum. We're going to talk about it almost daily until we see what the free agent class looks like. But guys, even though our sites are usually focused on external free agents, who can we bring in to make this team better? Who's going to fix this or improve that? The truth is that the New York Jets focus needs to be in-house. We have more free agents on our own team than we know what to do with. We're going to take a look at what that looks like in today's Intelligent Gripe. Look, man, free agency, it can be a very exciting period, right? We can see all sorts of fun names brought in to bolster different units. Last year, we got the big, exciting initial signing of Laken Tomlinson. Weren't we psyched about that one? Remember? Doesn't always work out. Now, Laken Tomlinson, we don't know what will happen this next year. He's going to be here with us. Maybe he has a comeback year. Who knows? He's been to the Pro Bowl. He's clearly a good player in the NFL. But guys, we really need to take that mindset that we usually focus on the outside and we need to get to work on our interior, man. We could lose so many guys. And when we're talking about whether or not this team is good, do we have building blocks? Well, a lot of them might be leaving if we are not careful. So we have to take a look and see what it is that we really see in our own free agents. Are these guys building blocks? Can we afford to keep certain guys? And on and on and on. If we are going to say that this defense is top 5, well, then maybe we should keep a large portion of it together. That's a good idea. So let's take a look at some of our free agents here. We'll start at the top. I'm using Over the Caps list. There are numerous lists out there. You can find Spot Track and some others, but I'm going to use Over the Cap for our purposes today. So you see right here, we have George Fant up top. Now, George Fant is a very interesting one. Before the year, a lot of Jets fans were upset that the Jets didn't lock up George Fant. We thought that he was the kind of guy that you want to keep on the team. Last year, we let right tackle Morgan Moses go. So, a lot of guys thinking, why are we playing games with guys like this? Lock him up. Well, the Jets weren't able to do that. And he had himself quite a different year than 2021. George Fant injured for large swaths of the season. He played left tackle a little bit, didn't look so good over there. And he played right tackle, had some moments, but also struggled on that side somewhat too. So whether or not George Fant is going to be able to command that starting tackle money remains to be seen. But man, oh man, the Jets have a decision to make with this guy. Now look at this next one here, Connor McGovern. Guys, this is 2 guys on our offensive line. The one guy that didn't miss a single snap is Connor McGovern. He was there all year. He's making $9 million this last season. He's 30 years old, and the Jets have a major decision to make. Now, one of the things we talk about with the offensive line is continuity, right? Well, the Jets didn't have any this year. The only piece of continuity that they did have was Connor McGovern in the middle with Laken Tomlinson to his left. Other than that, there were guys all over the place, different guards, different tackles, right tackles moving to the left tackles moving to the right, guards moving to right tackle. We had all sorts of craziness going on the offensive line. So the Jets are going to have to decide how much they value that continuity. Guys, look at this. We're not even bringing in the same offensive line coach. So maybe Connor McGovern's tenure with the Jets might be coming to an end. I'd like to see them keep him, but again, we don't know who the coach is anymore, so it's going to be a big decision. George Fant and Connor McGovern. Another big name, guys, is Sheldon Rankins. Sheldon Rankins had himself a really good year. Guys like Quinnen Williams have pointed to him as being predominantly the big leader on the defensive line. Him alongside of Carl Lawson are kind of the emotional leaders of the defense. I don't know. You got to see. He signed a 2-year, $11 million contract or so, or $12 million a couple years ago. So maybe if you can get him for the same price, that $5 million tag, $4 to $6 million, maybe you can keep him. But he might be a tough one to keep. Joe Flacco, in my opinion, is going to be gone. Dan Feeney, he's been here a few years now. Adequate backup, did a good job when he came in. He's definitely not a world beater, but he is solid, and he stayed healthy in the backup role, so there's that. They'll have to make a decision with Dan Feeney, just like they moved on from Greg Van Roten the year before and didn't even keep him as a backup. They went and got Nate Herbig to replace him. Maybe Dan Feeney gets replaced this year with a younger body as well. LaMarcus Joyner had another interesting season. Started off really bad, came back and was really good. Then he was bad again. Then he was kind of hit or miss. And then he ended the season on the injured list. So especially following 2021, he was injured the entire season. I don't know how much they're going to be able to justify keeping him. He's 33 years old. He'll be 34 next year. Whether or not they keep him remains to be seen. But that's a decision. Now, if you want to keep him, if you can get him for $1 million and keep him as your backup, the third string, I think it's a great move. To start, I don't think he's a guy anymore. Now, a really interesting one here is going to be Mike White. Again, it's difficult to really pin this down because we don't even know who the offensive coordinator is. But Mike White, I think he's shown us that he's a pretty good number 2. I don't really think, now people say, oh, he didn't really get a chance this, he playing broken ribs. Look, the truth is that Mike White has had himself 8 or 9 starts and he's been injured almost the entire time. So that's something that you have to factor in. Think he played well at times, but I also thought he played really poorly at times. Mike White as a number 2, fine. To battle for the first string quarterback, I don't think that's the case. But that's going to be an interesting decision to make here with Mike White. He's been the hero and he's been the martyr. You know what I mean? He's been all over the map with the New York Jets. Solomon Thomas, I don't think they're going to focus on keeping him. He's a solid guy, but he was clearly, next to Jacob Martin, he was the weakest link on the offense, or on the defensive line. Yeah, look, guys like Solomon Thomas, Vinny Curry, they're older players. I mean, Vinny Curry is older than Solomon Thomas, but still, they're kind of moving into that older route. Solly, he might be solid, but even Nathan Shepard had a stronger year than Solomon Thomas, so I don't know how much of a priority he's going to be. Greg Zuerlein, I think you got to lock him up. Nate Herbig, I think you got to lock him up. These are guys that you must keep on the team. Stop with the kicker thing, right? Zuerlein, he made our first ever 60-yard kick. Keep him. Now, what about guys like Vinny Curry? I don't know. I think Vinny Curry is going to be 36 years old. It might be the end. He was effective at times. Depth role, leadership, all that stuff, but I don't know. I think that we're moving into a more youthful defensive line. I think guys like Solomon Thomas and Vinny Curry will go, while we might keep a Sheldon Rankins around, that sort of thing. Mike Remmers, I don't know. No depth. So I think he did a decent job in the Miami game. He played left tackle, I believe. So, yeah, why not? He's cheap. Keep him around. Quan Alexander will be an interesting one. I don't think you're going to get Quan Alexander for $1 million again this year. He played pretty well and he stayed healthy. I think he's going to be able to command a much more realistic contract for his talent. He's a good player. Now, the Jets have to make a decision. Now, going through all these guys like LDT and Cedric Abui, I think that Joe Douglas found really solid depth. None of these guys are the guy that I want to see starting, but when your guy goes down, having a guy like Cedric Abui come in, I mean, look, we got him on the Texans scrap heap, on their practice squad. He came in and a couple weeks later was literally starting for us. He played well against guys like Von Miller. He did a good job. I think it's a slam dunk depth signing. I think you keep guys like him around. It makes a ton of sense from my vantage point. Like, why go out there and try to find, hit or miss with another guy? If you know even one of those guys, Cedric Abui would be my first. LDT, I don't know. He's old. He's barely playing. I don't really know about him necessarily. I think Nate Herbig, Cedric Abui are guys that you'd probably want to keep around if the price is right. Now you got guys like Nathan Shepard. Has he done enough to keep him? I mean, he's $1 million. Saleh loves him. You want to give him another one-year contract? I don't know. He might be a guy. This might be the year that we see Nathan Shepard go elsewhere. Somebody willing to give him a 3-year deal kind of thing. But he's good to have around. I'm not disappointed necessarily. Played a little bit better than maybe I thought he would. But again, depth is depth. But he's definitely not the run stuffer that we were hoping that he'd be. That's one. He's supposed to be good at that, and he's not really all that great. Will Parks, Adam Pankey, Jeff Smith, Drew Samia. I don't know. Drew Samia might be good for the depth. Will Parks, I don't know. I'm kind of done with the Will Parks thing. He's not a young guy. He's not going to develop. You know what you're getting. And he didn't really look that good. When he does come in, special teams, he's pretty good, so maybe he can come in that way. But Nick Bawden, who was injured all last year, I don't know. Is a new offensive coordinator, doesn't even care about fullback. So we'll see how that goes. He's not exactly expensive. But again, if you don't need the fullback position, it can give you the opportunity to keep another running back, keep another tight end, keep another wide receiver, then I think you might want to consider doing that. Quincy Williams is going to be a huge question. Whether or not they want to pay him what he's probably going to want, I don't know, man. He's a very good player. I don't know if he's really the guy you want starting for you all year. He has complete lapses. He's not the best in coverage, and he has those games where he's missing tackles. I don't know what it is. He has some games he's thunderous, man, the best guy in the world, and he has other games where he just seems to be lost. I don't know. They're going to have to make a decision with him. Now, the interesting thing with him, with Quinnen Williams said that he's willing to take less if that money goes to keeping his brother on the team. That's interesting. That's something that you might want to consider. Again, if you don't want Quincy Williams, it doesn't matter how much money Quinnen's going to give off of what he wants. If you don't want him, you don't want him. But I think he's definitely a good player, definitely a guy you want to keep around, but not as the defined starter and not break the bank type money. Bryce Huff, in my opinion, lock his ass up. I'd be locking him up right now. Do not let the rest of the NFL get their fingers into this guy. Do not let it happen. He's an amazing stud. His role should be expanded, in my opinion. When he's on the field, you cannot deny his impact. It's instant. If he plays 3 plays, all 3 plays, you know he's there. And I think he's going to continue to get better. He's young. Keep him on the team and give him a nice contract. I'd sign him for 4 years, man. Keep him here. James Robinson, honestly, I know that we didn't end up using him because of the whole 6th round, 5th round pick thing. He's not a guy that I'd hate to see kept around. Why not? Why not? Better than Ty Johnson? I mean, I don't know. He fell out of favor with LaFleur, but one of my issues with LaFleur, man, has been his personnel usage. Guys seem to be in the doghouse all the time. They're complete phantoms. They just disappear. Look at Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore, Michael Carter. What happens to these guys? They just disappear. So I think James Robinson might fall into that category. A new offensive coordinator might look at James Robinson and say, no, I want that guy. Are you kidding me? 100% 5 yards in from the, running into the end zone, man. He's 8 touchdowns out of 8 rushes. Why the Jets didn't give him the ball? In Detroit, who knows? But I think a new offensive coordinator might like James Robinson, and he's only going to be $1.2 million if you want to keep him. You got guys like Zane Lewis, I don't know. Ty Johnson, maybe, if the new guy likes him. I mean, he's hit or miss. You never know. Marcel Harris, I think he's going to be gone. So, guys, look at all those players. That's 27 New York Jets. Some of them pretty important to the team, whether it's depth on the offensive line, whether it's starting on the defensive line, whether it's depth on the defensive line, linebackers, starting linebackers. We have guys there. Our kicker, there are some really big decisions to make. Here's the thing I'll say. We did it a little bit last year with Braxton Berrios and a few others. I think it's time that this organization starts to shift to being a team that's out there sucking in, a lot of free agents from the outside, to a team that values and takes care of the players on the inside. Not every player here is paramount to keep, right? We know that. But there are some damn good ones, and there's some young ones, guys like Bryce Huff and maybe Quincy Williams. There are some guys on here, the kicker Greg Zuerlein, that you just don't want to see go, especially when they have a positive impact on the team. I think it's time. It's time for the Jets to be known as the organization that you do the right thing here, you get taken care of here. That is vitally important. It starts with guys like Quinnen Williams, Bryce Huff. We have to start making these guys the example. When the young guys come in, they know they bust their ass and do it the right way here. They're going to get rewarded and they can be lifelong Jets, making that a good thing. And that's the intelligent gripe. So let me tell you, Jets fans, I am a firm believer that if we keep the right guys, we're going to let some go, but we keep the right guys, we add a quarterback to this mix. I think this team is poised and ready to start making some real noise in the NFL. We started it this year, couldn't hold it up, couldn't keep the balls in the air, in large part because of the quarterback play and then the offensive coordinator. We're moving on. We're making moves. We get the right guys in here and keep the right guys. I think we're on to something. There's a lot of reason to be happy, hopeful, and feeling good about the New York Jets, Jets fans. I know, believe me. Every year we take to the offseason like it's our first breath of fresh air. This year, we're building on something. All pro players. We might just have the defensive and offensive rookies of the year on the team. There's a lot going on. Joe Douglas has to balance this cap this year. We've never seen him have to do that quite to this degree yet. We got to keep the right free agents from the in-house and take care of the players the right way. And don't forget, man, this might be the first year that we start seeing some compensation picks getting stuffed into the mix. It won't happen this year, but what we do this offseason can impact the following year. 27 free agents, man. If you let half of them go and you only sign half as many unrestricted free agents out there, we might be getting some comp picks. That's another thing. It's time to shift and start getting free picks from the NFL. Start doing this the right way, like a real organization. Imagine that. Guys, thanks for watching. I'm really happy that you're here for episode 100 of GreenBean's Jets Pod. Please don't forget to hit that like button on the way out. And if you haven't subscribed, it means the world. Now's the perfect time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great week. And as always, go Jets.